Let me ask you a question. If you have a bottle of mineral water that sells for 2 yuan in a supermarket, how much do you think it's worth once you get it up to a 6,000-meter snow mountain? The answer is $50, around 300 RMB. This isn't price gouging. This is logistics cost. On the south side of Everest, every spring, hundreds of wealthy climbers spend tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to attempt the climb. They need oxygen, food, tents, fuel. All of these supplies must be transported from base camp at 5,300 meters to camps above 6,000 meters. The distance is only a few kilometers in a straight line. But in between lies a hell called the Khumbu Icefall. There, ice walls collapse without warning, crevasses have no visible bottom, and temperatures drop to -30 degrees. You can't drive there. You can't use helicopters, not because it's technically impossible, but because the math doesn't work. The only option is humans. Sherpas. They carry heavy loads and set off at 2 a.m. in the coldest part of the night, walking in darkness across a glacier that can kill them at any moment. If they're lucky, they arrive 6 hours later. If not, they're crushed by falling ice or fall into deep crevasses, sometimes only to be found years later when the glacier spits them back out. This has been Everest's logistics model for 50 years, using Sherpa lives to support the lives of wealthy climbers. But in 2026, this entire business model was torn apart by 2 Chinese-made drones. If it's so dangerous, why not just use helicopters? It's not like the technology doesn't exist. The answer is helicopters did come, but they were driven away by 2 things: physics and Excel spreadsheets. First, physics. At 6,000 meters, air density is only about half of sea level. No matter how fast the rotors spin, there are simply fewer air molecules to grab. That means lift is cut in half, and the engines must work at extreme overload, like forcing you to run at high altitude while carrying sandbags. And inside that canyon, winds are chaotic. A sudden downdraft can slam a helicopter into a mountain wall. So on Everest, the question is not can it fly, but how long before it crashes. Then there's Excel. A single AS-350 helicopter flight costs thousands of dollars. Flight time is short because extreme cold causes massive mechanical wear. 1 hour of flying may require several hours of maintenance, and it can't fly in bad weather. So when it stops, it may sit idle for days while pilots still get paid. In the end, transporting a single oxygen bottle to Camp 1 costs several times more than having a Sherpa carry it. So what did helicopters become on Everest? Luxury ambulances, only climbers with life. Threatening pulmonary edema can afford to call one. It can never become a daily logistics system because you can't scale it, schedule it, or spread out the cost. So the market froze. On one side, Sherpa labor, slow, dangerous, expensive, but functional. On the other side, helicopters, faster, even more expensive, and highly unstable. Neither could replace the other. The Sherpa unions controlled this deadly corridor and held strong pricing power. A top Sherpa guide can earn in one climbing season what an average Nepali family earns in 10 years. The Nepalese government also profits through taxes, with climbing permits costing over $10,000 each. Everyone made money, but the cost was lives lost in the ice every year. And this system continued for 50 years. Until April 2026. On the 25th of April, DJI engineers arrived at Everest Base Camp with 2 FC-30 cargo drones. Their goal was brutally simple: prove that machines can replace humans, making every kilogram cheaper, safer, and more reliable. To achieve this, they had to fight 3 brutal enemies between 5,300 and 6,000 meters: First enemy, thin air. As mentioned earlier, at 6,000 meters, air density is only half of sea level. A normal drone would fail to generate enough lift. It might not even take off. If forced to fly, its motors would burn out within seconds. DJI's solution was brutally simple. If the air is thin, use bigger propellers and spin them faster to sweep a larger volume of air. It's like trying to pick noodles from thin soup. If your chopsticks are too small, you just use bigger ones. They equipped the FC-30 with specially designed high-altitude propellers and massively increased motor power. This isn't innovation. It's brute force over engineering to compensate for physics. Second enemy, minus 30-degree cold. Lithium batteries become nearly useless in extreme cold. The electrolyte turns into sludge. Lithium ions slow down, and when high current is drawn at startup, voltage collapses to zero, causing mid-air power failure and crashes. DJI's solution: give the battery a padded jacket, a self-heating one. Inside the battery, heating elements warm it up to over 20 degrees C before takeoff. Once airborne, waste heat from the motors is recycled to maintain temperature. So outside, it's minus 30 degrees, but inside the battery feels like a spring day in Shenzhen. It sounds advanced, but the principle is similar to wrapping a car battery in insulation in winter, just automated and precisely controlled. Third, enemy turbulent winds and signal blind spots in the canyon. The Khumbu Icefall is surrounded by mountains thousands of meters high, blocking radio signals completely. A drone entering this area would lose control instantly. Traditional remote control and video transmission become useless. The canyon also acts like a funnel, compressing wind into violent, invisible vortices. Gale force winds are normal here. DJI's solution: abandon manual control and go fully autonomous. They first scanned the entire glacier with LiDAR to build a 3D map. Then the drone flies autonomously using CNMega level satellite positioning along a preset route. The flight computer adjusts rotor speeds every microsecond. When wind hits from the left, motors on the right instantly accelerate to counterbalance it, holding the drone in place like it's nailed to the air. On screen, it looks like it's suspended by invisible wires in a blizzard. This isn't magic. It's real-time algorithmic counterforce against nature. Empty load tests passed. Now came real cargo operations. 5 kilograms, 10 kilograms, eventually pushed to the limit of the machine, 15 kilograms. On flat ground, 15 kilograms is just 2 boxes of bottled water. But on Everest, it's 3 oxygen tanks, enough to keep a dying climber alive for 20 hours, plus medicine and food. In the past, transporting this load to Camp 1 required 2 strong Sherpas, climbing for 6 to 8 hours in darkness and fear at 2 a.m., risking death from collapsing ice towers. Now, the drone takes off. The FPV camera feed is gray and blurry, filled with snow and ice walls. At the 6th minute, small colored dots appear. That's Camp 1. The flight system locks onto the landing zone automatically with less than 1 meter of error. The cargo touches down, the hook releases, and 15 kilograms of life-saving supplies land safely in minus 30 degrees snow. But that's only half the job. If it can't bring waste back down, the economics still don't work. A Sherpa guide on the ground, the same person who might lose his job because of this, ties up decades of accumulated waste and empty oxygen bottles around the camp and loads them onto the drone. In the past, nobody dealt with this waste. Asking Sherpas to carry garbage down meant either strikes or unaffordable prices. But now, for a machine that never gets tired or afraid, trash and oxygen bottles are simply payload. Straps tighten, locks secure, and it returns. 6 minutes later, the drone lands back at base camp. Total time 12 minutes. Now let's lay out the ledger. Human system, 6 to 8 hours per trip. Only a 4-hour window between 2 a.m. and sunrise. Risk of death, costs hundreds of dollars per kilogram. Drone system, 12 minutes per trip, round-trip cycle. Can operate 24 hours a day if wind conditions allow. 0 fatalities, costs tens of dollars per kilogram. 12 minutes destroys 8 hours. It's that simple. No slogans needed. Any business owner seeing these numbers would tear up the human labor contract immediately. DJI isn't doing tech for good. They are doing good business. It just so happens that this business also saves lives, removes garbage from the mountain, and prevents Sherpas from dying in the process. On May 22, the Nepalese government signed a document. The south side of Everest officially opens to regular commercial drone logistics, meaning that from 2026 onward, young Sherpas walking the deadly line of the Khumbu Icefall at night, in theory, no longer have to go. At this point, you might think this is a heartwarming story, technology defeating hardship machines, liberating the suffering. But if you think that, you've been fooled by a charity narrative. The real script is far more brutal. Sherpas have never been just victims. For 50 years, Sherpas have been the strongest monopoly in the Everest industry chain. Naturally adapted to low oxygen, strong endurance, they formed unions and price alliances. Outsiders trying to become guides? Impossible. Companies trying to lower prices? They simply go on strike. A top Sherpa guide can earn in a 2-month season more than a Nepali civil servant earns in 10 years. They didn't become porters out of desperation. They used their natural advantages to extract high-gravity rent. The more dangerous the glacier, the higher their price. It sounds cold, but this is real-world economics. If you control a toll gate nobody else can enter, you can charge whatever you want. The only catch is that the maintenance cost of the toll gate is your own life. Now DJI drones arrive. They don't compete with Sherpas on endurance, they compete on marginal cost. Machines have no unions, no insurance, no death benefits, no fear of striking. When cost per kilogram drops from hundreds of dollars to tens, Sherpas lose all bargaining power. So the real future looks like this. Most young Sherpas will no longer be allowed into the core glacier zones because machines are far cheaper and far safer. They will be pushed from high-risk, high-reward life, or death porters into basic camp workers, pitching tents, washing dishes, cleaning waste. These jobs pay far less than before, like falling from the sky to the ground. Their monopoly advantage becomes worthless overnight. This is not liberation. It is labor devaluation. And the Nepalese government, they are delighted. Drones stabilize supply chains, oxygen and medicine become abundant. And death rates drop. As fatalities decrease, Everest shifts from extreme adventure to luxury tourism, attracting more climbers and doubling permit revenue. As for unemployed Sherpas, that's market adjustment, not something that appears in fiscal reports. The real story is not technology defeating nature, but Chinese industrial mass production defeating a 50-year labor barrier built by an entire ethnic workforce in Nepal. Just like every industrial revolution in history, spinning machines replaced hand weavers, cars replaced carriage drivers, a tea miss replaced bank tellers. Only this time, the displaced workers are Sherpa porters on Everest, and the layoff notice is issued by a company in Shenzhen, China. Isn't this just a few drones delivering oxygen tanks? What does this have to do with Chinese infrastructure going global? It has everything to do with it. Western think tanks often analyze China's overseas high-speed rail, dams, ports, and power grids using big terms like geopolitical expansion or debt traps, as if every road built is about controlling another country. But DJI shows a completely different explanation. The real driver of China's industrial globalization is not political ambition, but simply our tools work too well. Do you want to use them or not? What does too good mean? It means China's domestic market is insanely competitive. In factories across Shenzhen and Dongguan, tens of thousands of suppliers fight every day to shave off a few cents in cost and gain a 1% efficiency boost. The result of this competition: you buy a DJI FC30 for a few tens of thousands of RMB, and on flat ground it can deliver packages, spray crops, transport materials. Its endurance, payload, wind resistance, and intelligence are all forged through millions of test flights in real-world conditions. Then you bring this machine to Everest. 6,000 meters altitude, minus 30 degrees, chaotic canyon winds. These are just another version of the heat, storms, and interference it already survived in southern China. Its supply chain, algorithms, and redundancy design just happen to cover these extremes. This is industrial redundancy. What looks excessive on flat ground becomes life, saving in extreme environments. When Chinese engineers stand in front of a Nepalese finance minister and show a comparison table: humans, 8 hours. X% death rate, $1,000 cost. Machines, 12 minutes, 0 deaths, $50 cost. Which do you choose? Any rational official would choose the second option. No lobbying, no bribery, no geopolitical persuasion needed. The ledger is enough. This is the strongest card in Chinese manufacturing's global expansion. Not slogans, not connections, but products that remain useful, cheap, and reliable under extreme conditions. While your competitors still rely on human lives and luck to maintain logistics, your machines have turned it into a predictable, repeatable, scalable public service. That DJI drone on Everest is fundamentally the same as China's railways in Africa or ports in Southeast Asia. It solves a real bottleneck, not through force, but through efficiency. When a wealthy climber suffering pulmonary edema at Camp 1 sees a drone delivering 3 oxygen tanks through gale force winds, he can't help but think, thank God this thing exists. The Himalayan glacier is still moving, as it has for tens of thousands of years. But this year is different. The death path walked for 50 years no longer has Sherpa headlamps. Instead, it is crossed by silent gray shadows guided by satellites. This is 21st century globalization. It doesn't move you emotionally, it just solves problems.